Good evening, Manchester City fans around the world, and welcome back to Matchday Live. And here we are welcoming Pep Guardiola and our boys in blue to the Etihad Stadium for the second of 5 games here at the Etihad Stadium in January. Today, we welcome Brighton. City are looking to bounce back after desperately, unfortunately, conceding that last-minute winner against Chelsea here only a few days ago. But as we know, this is the month where the games come thick and fast, and we can put that right tonight. Now, we did pick up a few injuries in that game, which we're going to discuss in a second. That has meant, though, we've recalled one of our loan players, Max Allain from Watford, 20 years old. He's a centre-half, and I can reveal he is in the starting 11 tonight. Breaking news, straight into the fold for our young player, Max Allain. Let's see who is playing alongside him today as we welcome Brighton to the Etihad Stadium. Donnarumma, how unlucky was he not to keep that ball out the back of the net against Chelsea? He starts in goal, moving into the defence. Núñez, what a season he's having in a brand new position for him. So excited to see this man now get a run of games. Kusanov at centre-half, and there he is, playing alongside Max Allain. We're going to be talking more about him in just a second, but straight in after we've recalled him from Watford. Ake then completes the back four, playing at left-back, moving into midfield. It's a rest for Rodri. Nico in the holding role alongside Bernardo and Tijani Reinders. And moving into our forward three, it looks like Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku and Erling Haaland. Looking over to the bench as well, Trafford, Shirky, Rodri, O'Reilly, Wright, Mukasa, Lewis, Fooney and Heskey. And those Manchester City fans with an eagle eye will notice that is 9 Manchester City Academy players in today's squad. What an achievement for our team. Good evening, my name is Cel Spellman. We are live from the Etihad Stadium, and wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for joining me. Alongside me in the studio, really excited for tonight's show, I have got none other than Luke and Amos. Good evening, gentlemen. So great to be with you. Our first time together, I believe?
Yeah. Hope we've got that chemistry going.
I think it's already there. And Luke, great to be back with you as well. Happy New Year, gents. Amos, I'll come to you first. First thoughts on seeing that starting 11, particularly, obviously, the huge news, Max Allain straight in.
Yeah, first of all, big congratulations to him. Yeah. Making a first start in a Premier League game, that's incredible for him. I know he's been impressing at Watford, so fair play to him. You know what? I'm glad there's a bit of rotation, because it's felt like the last couple of games it's a little bit leggy, especially in the last sort of 15-20 minutes of that Chelsea game. So yeah, fresh legs, fingers crossed, and players with a point to prove, and I think you need that in a squad, a bit of competitiveness. Complete,
and that's always something I think City have prided themselves on. It's why we've done as well as we've done. Now, Luke, when I came in, you made me a little bit nervous because you were feeling a bit apprehensive about the game. One, I'd be interested to know why that is. And secondly, did seeing the starting 11 alleviate some concerns?
Yeah, well, the thing is, whenever we, drop points in a game, I'm always just eager. And I'm sure the players are even more eager than me to see the next game and get 3 points in the bag and bounce back a little bit. It's not been bad. 10 games, 8 wins and 2 draws. We're 10 unbeaten. We cannot forget that as City fans. Really? So it's not a time to melt down, but you just want to get another 3 points in the bag, win another game, and bounce back a little bit from 2 draws. I think we wanted to see his wins, but I think tonight is a good opportunity to do that.
On the draw here at the Etihad Stadium, I think I said at the start of the show, what's so great about this month, as tiring it is for the players, you get a chance to kind of put something right. Before we kind of dig into the start 11, I think it can't be understated, and that's why Max Allain has been recalled from Watford, to lose Diaz and Gvardiol in the space of what I think was less than 10 minutes had such a huge impact on what was already quite a tired team, given the busy, Christmas period, Amos.
Absolutely. I mean, you're coming into a game against, let's face it, a really good Chelsea attack, and you're trying to see out the game. Defenders, it was cold, and you don't want to be the guy making the excuses, but you're coming into a game, you're cold, it is a thing, you've got to make sure that you're getting into it, and it was just one of those, so unlucky. I think it takes a deflection off one of the defenders. Donnarumma pulls off an incredible save, just falls at the feet of Enzo Fernandez, and you've got to sometimes take your medicine. But like Luke says, 8 wins, 2 draws, 10 games unbeaten. That's something to be proud of. Just because the 2 draws have come consecutively isn't any reason to be panicking.
Couldn't agree more. On that defence then, we knew it was going to come. Big changes. We keep Mateus Nunes. O'Reilly, I think, looked like he needed a rest personally.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that he's been able to get that with Ake coming in. How are you feeling just generally about the defence, but also Kusanov and Elaine at centre-half?
Yeah, well, I think it's important that you have some experience in a back four because, you know, as Amos was just saying then, when we were trying to see out the game, we were maybe lacking that a little bit. By no fault of our own, I suppose the injuries didn't help. But, yeah, we've got Nathan Ake at left-back, it seems, who's obviously a treble winner, who's so good in that position for a long portion of that season. So I'm happy to see Ake back in there. Hopefully he can... perform as well as we've seen Nico O'Reilly performing lately. But I think maybe he's been a little bit tired. He came off against Sunderland fairly early and obviously played against Chelsea. So I'd like to think that, Ake can play well at left-back. Elaine and Kusanov at centre-back's exciting. I think some of the attributes of Elaine we've been discussing off camera. Good ball player, both feet he can use. And Kusanov's got that unbelievable pace, which is important against a Brighton team with a pretty decent and deadly attack. So, yeah, Nunes at right-back was probably one of our best defenders all season, very solid. It's gutting to see Diaz and Vardy both out. Diaz, obviously, it seems to be a little bit shorter term, but we can see, obviously, on the screen now.
This is what Elaine brings to the party. Oof. This was in the UEFA Youth League as well. And that is, as we've touched upon there, I mean, you're losing two of the best centre-halves I think we've got in the club at the moment, bar John Stones, but he struggled with injuries. But he's two-footed, loves to carry the ball, and also as well, what we always see with City players from the academy, when they've come through the academy or played in the system for 4 or 5 years, they do seem to slot in quite well, which kind of makes it a bit easier for the fans and for them.
Yeah, definitely. That's why you sort of train them like that from an early age, because you see the clips and it dare I say, it's a little bit like Josko Gvardiol, the way he's marauded forward and he's picked out such a great pass. And we know he's a bit of a unicorn, isn't he? In terms of he's called a defender, but he's anything but. So I think hopefully, fingers crossed, there will be a lot of pressure. Of course, Premier League is a massive step up, but I've seen some Watford fans absolutely gutted that they've lost him, and they've been going well with him playing in the defence there, and they said, some of them saying he's a future England international. So that's what we're looking forward to seeing if it can translate to this game tonight.
I'm sure it will. Moving up the pitch then, I wanted to mention how colossal Rodri was against Chelsea. I was worried that he might have to go straight in because I wasn't too sure if Nico was still injured, but Nico does come in alongside Bernardo as well, who was probably next to Rodri, my other man of the match. Them two together were so good in this Chelsea game, Luke.
Yeah, I think in previous times when Rodri's come back, obviously since that massive injury he had at the start of last season, I think he's struggled a little bit to stay up to speed and to maybe be back to his best, which is only natural. But I think these last 2 games we've seen him in, when he came off the bench against Sunderland and then obviously starting here against Chelsea, I thought he was unbelievable. It seemed like we had the Rodri back in the team, and it's important that we don't overplay him. I think maybe that's why Pep's started him on the bench tonight. Put Nico back in, who's obviously been unavailable. Rodri's obviously forced to kind of come in and step up maybe a game or so earlier than maybe he expected to, maybe the staff expected him to. So it's been great to see him come back. Hopefully he can return to that form for a long period of time. But you can see on screen how good he was in that Chelsea game, and it's just so unfortunate we didn't get the 3 points.
It was, and also that man there, Bernardo Silva, he really did deserve 3. I always think he's never going to run more than what I've seen previously, but I felt in that Chelsea game, he'd done even more running than he had done before. Tajani Reinders as well with the goal, Amos. I think now that is 3... That's 3 goals in the last 3 starts, which was something I know that fans over in Serie A were very used to saying. How impressed have you been with him, and what does he bring into that City midfield?
I'm a little bit of a Serie A nerd. I'm not afraid to say it. So I was watching him all last season. I'm thinking this guy, along with Scott McTominay, I have to say, were 2 of the best players in the league last season. And you mentioned Rodri there. I don't think it's a coincidence in a game like this. He looks a lot better because he does have that freedom to go into the final third and pick up those late runs, Gundogan-esque in that sense. And I think that's kind of what City were looking to replace. A player who can arrive at the right moment. I mean, that little ball roll there, that's ridiculous.
That was Aguero-esque, that finish.
The cheek of that, I mean, it's incredible. But yeah, I'm really excited to see him because, look, he's been at the club 6 months, and in my opinion, even when he wasn't getting the goals, he was still adding something that midfield didn't have last year. And I think, definitely, he's really settling in now.
Yeah, really, technically as well, he's so good, as you say, even in that little movement. Erling Haaland, is trying to score his 150th Manchester City goal, which I said against Chelsea. I felt like only a few shows ago we were speaking about his 100th. It's evaded him in the last couple of games. He rasped the post in that Chelsea game. It did feel as well, and I don't know if you thought this, Luke, there was a couple of moments we were maybe, 3 on 4 or 4 on 3, could have gone to a 1, and it's almost like they were trying to find Haaland rather than the right pass. Yeah. It's almost, you can feel it becoming a bit of a thing.
Yeah, it's funny to kind of to think that, because the way I see it personally is I don't even think they'll be thinking about it. I don't even think the players and Haaland will be thinking about it. But I do agree with you. I think when you're watching it, you're kind of like, and you're kind of hoping Haaland gets it in. And when he had that chance to hit the inside of the post, like you said, I thought that was it. But he'll get there. I think he'll hopefully get one tonight. He likes a goal against Brighton. Even in the last couple of away games we lost, he scored, and I believe he scored a penalty in the game here last year in the 2-2. So I think that's his last 3 league games against Brighton. He's bagged a goal, I'd like to say. So
nice. That's a good omen, Lou. That's what we like. Tonight, Jeremy Doku as well, the other player I wanted to mention, been away on injury. Why do you think he's maybe opted for him and left Shirky? Because obviously Shirky's been in great form, but why do you think he's gone for Doku this evening, Amos?
Well, I think first and foremost, Jeremy Doku's been one of the best wingers in the Premier League this season, if not Europe. Especially in that winning run that City have had, he was so integral to that game here against Liverpool. Possibly one of his best performances in a blue shirt. I do agree. Shirky, Foden, they struggled to maybe have that same interchange and that link up against Chelsea, which is fine. You can't. It very much felt like one of those days. There were no warning signs there, I don't think, from that match. But Doku's coming back in. I think against Sunderland he came off the bench and he really added something to that attack. And, it's the width that I think City have really looked towards this season, especially playing a little bit more on transition. So I think he will really, really get at those Brighton defenders, and we know they like to be a little bit more expansive under Fabian Herzl as well. So he should, fingers crossed, have plenty of fun. Yeah,
I think that, as we know as well, he loves to get the most, dribbles, the most take-ons, and also create the most chances. He's just been speaking there ahead of tonight's game against Brighton, and has spoke about that the players aren't really focusing on the gap. They're focusing on the next game, and they also said that they're quite relishing these games coming thick and fast. That's probably the best way to approach it, and I think we'd obviously always want to win, but City's greatest asset at times, and I think it comes from Pep, is just focusing on the here and now. Do you think that's going to be crucial? I know it's funny mentioning it when we're trying to close that gap, even if they're not thinking of it.
Absolutely, and you got to only think about the last Brighton game we played. Obviously lost 2-1 narrowly at the start of the season. That was our 3rd game of the season, and that left us 6 points off the top of the Premier League. We're now 20 games in, and we're 6 points off the top of the Premier League. So in terms of that gap there, it's not actually changed, and we've kept toe-to-toe with the team at the top, the gap that between us and the team at the top, I suppose. So I'm personally still confident. I think it's unfortunate we didn't get more points out of the last 2 games, but it's that period of the season we've struggled in before. You think back to the 4 in a row season, we were 4 or 5 up around this stage. We were 5th in the league. It was difficult, and we got some results in there. And you're going to get injuries, you're going to pick up, but sometimes that draws the team together, I think. And that's what you'd hope to see. There might be a few reinforcements as well in January, who knows? But I'd like to think win today, and we've got a little bit more momentum again. That'd then be 11 games unbeaten. You can't be disappointed with that.
Not at all. And then suddenly the gap's at 3 points. Arsenal to play Liverpool tomorrow. Who knows? And Pep has also spoke about, Amos, that the spirit and the energy within the team is very different to last year. One, obviously, with trying to go and do what we want them to do and win the Premier League, but also in dealing with what is a slight injury crisis, that there's a better energy to deal with that, and that counts for a lot.
Yeah, I think City have just got to focus on themselves. If whoever goes and wins the Premier League title, they'll do so because they're good enough. And you look at where City, this is what I've been trying to do all season. Of course, you can compare to treble winning teams, league winning teams, whatever. You've got to look where City came from in terms of last season. And obviously for the club, they will recognise it as an off season, a poor season. So I think you've got to compare it with that. And would City fans have taken this at the start of the season? 6 points is, City have overturned deficits that are much bigger than that with less time to go. So I think they've just got to focus on themselves, be there when it matters, because you get to March, April, May, you've got Champions League, FA Cup, Premier League fixtures to play with. Who knows? Maybe the team who are going to be top of the table have an injury crisis themselves, and that's when you want to pounce.
And also, I wanted to, and that's a great point there, Amos, I saw this at the weekend, which I always think is important for City fans to remember. The team I think we fielded against Chelsea was the 3rd or 4th youngest average age of a squad. This is a squad, obviously you've got the likes of Bernardo and Ruben Diaz, but it's a squad in its infancy that very much is at the start of building and growing, which I think is important to remember, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a transitional season, and it shows how good of a squad we've got when we can be even talking about a league title.
So true.
Pep's come in, he's won 6 league titles. You think about maybe his second season, there's so many different players came in and we went and got 100 points. You think about the kind of COVID-y type season, 2020, 21, and we had a very poor start, to be honest. We ended up about mid-table at Christmas.
Yeah.
And then look at how we went on and won about 18 games on the bounce, comfortably won the league title. Even the 4 in a row season, like I said, we had quite a lot of jeopardy, didn't pick up that many good results around this time of season, and then just clicked in and went on to win it. So, yeah, as long as we can stay in touch, which I think we are, we've still got to play Arsenal at the Etihad, which is a place they do not like to come for obvious reasons. And, they're not going to win every game. So we've just got to focus on our own games, like I said, and win them, and that's all we can do.
Great stuff, gents. Also, as well, great knowledge here in the studio. I love it. Right, we're going to be back in just a second, but Clive Allen is joining Alistair Mann with your commentary this evening. You can get that on the City app. Here he is pitchside with Alistair Mann giving us their thoughts, and they're also going to bring you the Brighton team.
Yeah, welcome to Pitchside, where I'm joined by my co-commentator this evening, the former City striker Clive Allen. Clive, you're most welcome to be with us tonight. Just a very quick thought about Sunday. Obviously, the last-minute equaliser. How disappointing, how damaging might that be?
Well, it's always disappointing to lose a goal so late in a game, which really City dominated. Would have hoped to have run through and obviously taken all 3 points, but there's still a long way to go. Nothing's won or lost on Sunday, and it's really to get back on track tonight. I think that's the most important thing.
It was damaging in some ways, of course, because it came just a few minutes after they'd lost both Diaz and Gvardiol to injury. I'm guessing that just compounds the frustrations after Sunday.
It does, but I think, again, it just shows how difficult the Premier League is at times, how damaging it can be as well. It wasn't just obviously losing the 2 centre-halves, but then the blow of conceding a goal and 2 points. So, it's really I think, the group to come together again. The manager will make his decision on who's playing where and how they will shape up, but I'm sure they've been in these situations before, and I'm sure that they can get back on track to get back to winning ways.
Well, before we chat a bit more, let me just give you the Brighton 11 for this evening. Verbruggen in goal, they've got Lewis Dunk and Van Hecke, Ruter, Hinshelwood, Mitoma, Kadiolu, Gomez, Ayari, De Kauper and Gross. That is the 11 for this evening. They look pretty strong, to be honest. I'm just seeing their changes. Hinshelwood's back into the starting lineup. De Kauper's come in at fullback, and Pascal Gross, of course, who they only just re-signed a few days ago. What does that lineup tell you about their ideas, their thoughts for tonight?
Well, I think, again, it shows that they've got strength in depth in terms of who the manager can select. I think they're a very dynamic team. Surprisingly, doing my prep, Ali, they haven't scored a goal on the counter-attack this season, which I find quite remarkable in the nature in which they play. They do try to press high, win the ball high up the field, and then counter from there very quickly. But from deeper positions, they're prepared to defend strongly. They move the ball quickly, and I think they're very athletic throughout their team. So it's something to be aware of tonight.
They'll be up against an unusual looking City lineup, certainly in terms of the back line. What challenges will they pose to City's back line with their attacking play?
Well, I think it's their movement and the way that they pass the ball and move very quickly, so they'll try to disrupt the shape. However City shape up, I think it's very important that they stay very solid and very rigid.
When you look at what City have been doing in terms of the way they've been playing, can they still pose problems to Brighton this evening?
Absolutely. I think there's no doubt with Foden finding form. I think you know what Erlen can do. Doku coming in on the left-hand side. I think there's potentially so much ammunition there that City can create chances. They just need to be taking them and killing the games off.
Just a quick word on the centre-half pairings being changed. Donnarumma behind them has been kind of, the only 2 centre-halves really he's played with have been Diaz and Gvardiol. How much of a dynamic does that affect things?
Yeah, it is new, I think, but with Donnarumma's experience, I think that's going to be vitally important to obviously the two centre-halves, the two new centre-halves who haven't played together. And I think his experience is going to be invaluable. I think Ake off the left, there's a lot of experience there that he will help whoever's alongside him. And I think that is something that, they will have worked on. There was absolutely no doubt about that. They will have done some preparation, but it's for them to put it into practice here tonight.
Well, I always ask my co-commentators one final question before I let them go up to the commentary position, and that is, what does the gut feeling tell you about what's going to happen this evening?
Well, on my visits here, I've always been pleasurable in terms of the number of goals that have been scored, and I think there'll be goals tonight. I see City winning 2-0.
Brilliant, thank you for that. Clive is alongside me on commentary duty this evening, so make sure you download the City app and you'll hear blow by blow by myself and Clive. Back to the studio and to Kel.
Thank you, gentlemen. I've got Amos and Luke with me in the studio. If you've just tuned in, welcome to Matchday Live. Thanks for joining us as always. We just brought you the Brighton team there. Before we get into Brighton a little bit more in detail, I wanted to mention, which is kind of tying into just how quickly things can change. Found it quite interesting. Obviously, they won 2-0 against Burnley. Burnley are struggling a little bit, but they hadn't won in 6 games before that, yet they're still only 6 points off fourth. So it's still so tight, isn't it?
It's such a strange season. You're looking, I'm not going to name names, but you're looking up and down the table, you're thinking, how on earth is that certain club there? But I think, I think it is one of those. To be fair, to flip it the other way, it does show that every team can beat every team, and that's why City, turning up tonight can't be taking it for granted just because it's a home game. But yeah, strange season, really weird season.
It will have given them much confidence coming into this game. If they'd maybe not got the win against Burnley, it might be a slightly different feeling in the Brighton team. How do you think they're going to approach the game this evening, Luke?
I think they're going to have quite a lot of confidence, to be honest, because a lot of the players that beat us earlier in the season will probably be playing tonight. They beat us last season at their place and they drew and got a point here last season, so I think they'd be very, very happy with a point, to be honest. And I think they're going to have at least some confidence they can come and do a job on us, and we've got to stop that from being the case.
We do indeed. Well, one thing I think that might help us in that, Luke, Danny Welbeck doesn't start now. He's been in great form this season. I guess for the young centre-half partnership that we've got, I did see that as a positive because he's been so good.
Yeah, although his penalty wasn't great. I don't know if you saw that.
No, that's true. He should have had a City shirt on when he took that one.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, he has really rolled back the years, hasn't he? He's been in great form, and I think, you turn up and he is a danger man. So yeah, I think they'll be taking a big sigh of relief that he isn't in the starting 11.
Just a general conversation topic. Does he get a shout for the England squad?
I think
if he carries on in if he carries on in the way he's playing now.
Yeah, I think with all due respect to Danny Welbeck, I think he's 35. I think he was in good form. Don't get me wrong, he's been in good form, but I think now Ollie Watkins has really kicked in.
Calvert-Lewin as well.
Calvert-Lewin as well has got a good shout. I think maybe Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Danny Welbeck have both got an outside shot, depending on if there's an injury or something. But I think he'd have to do very well. He'd probably need 3 or 4 tonight.
Yeah, at least. I would love it if he does make the squad, and if he does score the winning goal in the World Cup final, this will be clipped up and set. I thought as well, what was an interesting bit of business only last week, Pascal Gross coming back to Brighton. Obviously, spent so long here. Does bring a lot to the team, and he starts tonight.
Yeah, I think as well, even with the manager, Brighton are a young team on the whole. They've got some really talented players, but I think he adds that little sprinkle of experience that in that winless streak that they've just had did come up a little bit at times. I don't think they beat West Ham. They played West Ham twice and they didn't beat West Ham, so the form West Ham have been in, that does show that they were maybe lacking something. So I think that's a decent piece of business for them.
I know I mentioned Welbeck doesn't start, but Matoma does start as well, and they've got a couple of other really kind of key threats going forward. Do you think we have to be wary that they might look at this inexperienced defence and say that we could get at them today? Is that something to be?
Yeah, I'd like to think we can outscore them. Is what I'd say. I do think it's fair to say Brighton might get a goal, but we'll get to score predictions later on. But I'd like to think we can yeah, we can shut them out enough that our goals outshine theirs. Especially at home, like you said, yeah.
Dunk and Van Heck as well. I mean, I'm sure they'll be relishing the challenge against Erling Haaland as well, but they're going to have to be pretty resolute to try and keep out him, Doku, Phil Foden, Tijani Reinders.
I'm pretty sure Van Hecker has a little bit of history of Haaland as well, doesn't he?
I think he does indeed, yeah.
Maybe once or twice as well. So that'll be an interesting battle. I know Haaland spoke about it in the past. I think it was Brentford earlier this season. When defenders, go in his face a little bit, he likes it. He relishes the challenge. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds. Obviously, we spoke about, for him, what he will consider a bad run without a goal. But for most strikers, it's just, absolutely normal. So I think he'll be up for that. Van Hecker will, give him a physical battle, and that should hopefully he'll rise to the challenge.
Yeah, it feels quite poetic, doesn't it? It feels quite appropriate that it could be that Van Hecky scores his 150th goal against, Yeah. Now, you mentioned there about Welbeck's age. One player we have to mention, and actually, is also synonymous with Manchester City. James Milner celebrated his 40th birthday at the weekend. Just generally a word on James Milner, because it's a phenomenal achievement. I mean, they still say as well, he's one of the fittest players in the Brighton squad. To do what he's done at the level he's done it across the teams that he's played for, you can't help but take your hat off with admiration and respect to James Milner, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what do you say is 3 or 4 appearances off getting the all-time record? That is an unbelievable achievement. I think, to be honest, quite a lot of football fans probably
four away.
4 away, yeah. So if he appears tonight, then yeah, three away. That's an unbelievable achievement. To be honest, I think a lot of football fans probably did see it coming. Maybe a couple of seasons ago, would he stay in the league was probably the question, and he's obviously moved to Brighton. Still playing his trade there, and I think Gareth Barry. I think him and Gareth Barry are pretty good mates, so he's probably hoping he doesn't quite get it over the line. To be honest, secretly,
he's older than the manager, isn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what's a great point there, Amos? Not only that, this is what I found. There's 6 players in the Brighton squad that are older than the manager. Wow. Milner, Welbeck, Steele, Gross, Dunk, and Veltman are all. There's such an interesting dynamic.
Strange dynamic.
Yeah.
Really
How do you think
dynamic.
that kind of? I mean, obviously, there's probably the respect from both sides, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he came in from Germany with such high pedigree. He was touted as one of the best coaches in Europe, and he's come into the Premier League. And to be fair to him, he's done a really good job. And you look at the Premier League table. Okay, maybe they've dropped off in recent weeks, but you go back a month or so, there was talk that they could be challenging for Europa League, Champions League positions. So yeah, I think he'll be, season by season taking that experience, and he clearly commands the respect because he's been here 18 months or so. So. Certainly doing well.
And it really is. How people find these stats, I don't know, but I'm going to read you this one on James Milner. So since the 2002-2003 season, 866 other players have made 100 plus Premier League appearances, and Milner has played in the same game as all those players. Wow. 866. So that's 99.9% of them, but there's one player that he hasn't played against. Brentford defender Nathan Collins.
Wow.
Isn't that mad?
Yeah.
How bizarre.
He's played, of the 860, he's played against 99.9%. Only Nathan Collins eludes him. Also, how you find that out,
They could just make that up.
There's some AI algorithm out there. I don't know. But in honour then of James Milner, we're gonna play a little game, okay? And it's Luke, I know you like a quiz, but you're gonna work as a team today, okay? This is one of my favourites. We're bringing Tenable back, my friends. And with this is the top 10 Premier League appearances for players who featured at City. So to break it down, we looked at the all-time Premier League appearance list, and then, as Luke actually said very, very succinctly, we then put a filter on to see which of those played for City, and we then made our top 10 list out of those players. So they might have played 400 games for another club and only one for City, but they'd be on our list.
Okay.
You have to work out the 10. We'll go one by one. You can work together name by name.
Yeah, we'll put Gareth Barry at the top.
We'll go straight in. There we go. Get it in. Gareth Barry, 653.
Yeah, absolutely. James Milner.
James Milner, indeed, as well. Let's put him in there. Chasing 4 to go there from Gareth Barry. There's a few texts going back and forth. Who are we going to put in there next?
David James?
Yeah, I reckon so. Pretty sure he'll be right up there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
David James. Okay, go on. He'll love that as well because he loves the stat, J-Mo.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, David James.
Do you reckon Frank Lampard?
Yeah, he's got to be.
Nice.
Yeah, Man City legend.
Definitely.
Little sneaky one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
609.
I'll go Vieira.
Luke, tell you what. Let's see if he is on there. Vieira not on there.
He's not. Wow.
No way.
Wow. It must be close.
I mean, I think he was on. This will tell you how far down. He had 307 Premier League appearances.
We'll
so
see when it gets
307. That's a lot, to be fair.
I'd have had him in there as well, actually.
Yeah.
Great shout.
Possibly Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like
Peter
over the
Schmeichel.
yeah, keeper's always a good bet as well, isn't he? I
Yeah.
like that. Let's see Peter Schmeichel's on there. Peter Schmeichel not on there either.
Wow.
They must be high. They must be high.
Wow. Well,
You've got another keeper on there.
David Seaman then, maybe.
Yeah.
David Seaman.
You saying David Seaman?
And that look didn't. That wasn't too promising.
No, it wasn't too promising. David Seaman not on there either.
right then. I mean, do we go Robbie Fowler?
Robbie
Fowler.
These are some great shouts, gents. But not as many Premier League appearances as you think.
Wow.
There's
This
got to
is
be
insane.
some really obvious shouts.
Yeah,
this
there's
is
gotta be.
racking the brain now.
Well, you're thinking 572, so I reckon 10. Vieira's got to be close. I reckon 10's about 350.
Yeah.
So who's played about 10 seasons?
I'm sure
at least?
David Silva or someone like that is. If we're talking.
But then 309 isn't on there. David Silva.
What about 38 games in the season? You might
Yeah, I
take
think
10 off.
surely Company's in there.
Good shout.
Company.
Good
He's
shout.
not on there.
Oh my word!
Not getting
We thought we had this on
It's
map.
not. Do you know what? I would cast. I'd cast your mind back. There's a couple on there a little bit further, around the time of David James.
Around the time of David James, City did have a bit of a spell of just plucking players towards the
Yeah,
end
that's why I
of
said
their
Robbie
career.
Fowler. That's
Yeah.
what I said, yeah.
Andy Cole.
Ooh,
He's probably not
that's
up
a
there.
good.
Gosh, there's a few I want to go. All right, I'll give you a clue. There is two on here that played under Pep,
Played under Pep.
ever present, and they were both at a Premier League club.
Kyle
before.
Walker.
That's a good shout.
That's a great shout. Where's Kyle Walker on the list? Let's have a little look.
Thankfully, he's on.
There
There
we
you
go.
go, 429.
429. Played under Pep, Prem club before.
Well, the reason I wouldn't say John Stones is because of his injury record. His injury record
We
probably.
signed him young. He was a
Yeah.
kid, really.
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling.
Shout.
Bang, let's put Raheem Sterling on the list. There,
Oh, so
he's
he's
above
at
300.
Wow. So Vieira's nearly
96.
100 off. That is insane.
Shall we we'll take a pause there? That gives us a nice
okay.
gist. You've got 4 more to get.
Okay.
If you're playing along at home as well, you can get your guessing as well. We'll come back either before the show or maybe we'll come to it at half time, depending how the game goes along.
Wow.
Now, good game though, isn't it? It's quite surprising.
Yeah.
Now, one man who, he's not playing at the most Premier League appearances, but I'm sure he's up there for European football, is Gigi Donnarumma. He's been playing in the competition since he was 16. They have just taken to the pitch now behind us to warm up. So let's hear what he had to say. He sat down with the club yesterday and he said this, which I think is really quite fitting. He said the Premier League is the best league in the world. When you watch from the outside, the games are just fantastic. It's beautiful to watch, and to play in it, even more beautiful. Being here, being at City, being in the Premier League, I'm at the top at this moment in my career. Huge, really, when you think of his pedigree and his history so far. I mean, he won the Champions League with PSG. To be saying what he's saying already, I mean, it's a glowing review of City, but also just where he finds himself at. It's so great to read and hear.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been an absolute revelation. I would have Edison in Man City legend talk. I think he was such an incredible servant for the club. But it did maybe feel like a change was necessary. And I think when you're looking for a new goalkeeper, to bring someone in of that pedigree, I remember watching him in the Champions League last season, and he was one of the key players for PSG on that run to the final. Some of the saves,
especially in that Arsenal League.
Exactly,
semi-final as well.
Villa as well,
Yeah.
fantastic. So I think he's come in, and do you know what we spoke before about galvanising the dressing room? I think he's been one of the keys to that because he's such a big personality. He's brought it out of other players at the right time.
He really has a huge leader, and I remember even saying to my dad Luke, is if you're the opposition and you're looking at you're lining up in the tunnel and you're seeing Erling Haaland and you're seeing Ruben Diaz, but then you're seeing Gigi Donnarumma and the size of him, the stature, but the pedigree, psychologically it does something as well, particularly to the attackers.
Yeah, and I think it's insane really that the majority of the majority of sort of young players coming through might make, their first team debut for a team like City at maybe 20, 21. If they play 10 years in the game, they're going to get to 30, 31. Donnarumma's 26 and he's played 10 years. It's his 11th season, I think this is. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that he might have 10 or more years left in the game. And like you said, it's so much experience at still a pretty young age, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he? Similar age to Phil Foden? Does that scare quite a few people, to be honest?
Yeah. You'll have to watch the knee slides if he's doing it for another 10 years.
But, you read a quote like that and there's no saying that we actually might not now be able to enjoy Donnarumma for the next 10 years. And when you're suddenly looking at maybe a future, we always speak about the spine of a football team. If I'm looking at a spine that is consisting of Donnarumma, Kusanov and Gvardiol potentially. I mean, Rodri's still got 5 years, and maybe we sign, the Rodri replacement. Erling Haaland, Phil Foden, Shirky. You're looking at a spine there that could dominate football for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Nico Gonzalez as well, who's
only 23. Yeah, that's such a great point.
City fans will want the success this season, I get that, but I think big picture, we are building something so promising and so exciting that if in 2-3 years we're talking about, however many trophies, however much success, I wouldn't be surprised at this stage at all, because we're talking about some of the best players in Europe, both in the peak now, but also getting there, so super exciting.
Really is, and we're going to play it. I know it ended up in a goal, but if I don't think people did realise he was so close.
I don't know how he gets. I
don't know how
he gets a full claw on this ball. I mean, if
just pause it there, stop it there,
but that is. I mean, it's killer that it just didn't go. But
for any XG fans out there, by the way, that's why it's a flawed start, because that's a goal. That's a goal, by the way, at the end of a game that would probably be worth 2 XG, which doesn't make any sense. But it shows how good of a goalkeeper Donnarumma is. The fact that he even kept that first shot out, like you said, and it just sort of baited us all to think that we might get away with it. I remember seeing that and thinking, and then it just sort of.
And I do want to mention, because Luke, I know you've mentioned this in the past as well, and taking nothing away from James Trafford, because for me, I was, as all City fans were, buzzing then he signed. His season in the Championship, if you've not seen that, watch his highlight reel. I mean, he was impenetrable, really. And it's taken nothing away from him, but when it's just kind of unfortunate timing, when the only keeper I'd have over James Trafford would be Donnarumma, and it's just simple.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think in the away game against Brighton, even though we lost, James Trafford started, obviously played that whole game, and I think he had a save of the season contender in that game.
Agreed.
So shows how good James Trafford is. I think for clean sheets now as well, City are right at the top, I think, in terms of clean sheets. Trafford got 1 in the opening game against Wolves. Donnarumma's got 8 there, like it said. So yeah, we've got 2 unbelievable goalkeepers, and I don't think we can complain about them at all.
And also, I mean, we're saying that he also is still our, he's the other keeper. They very much, we see them both as the same. He actually might play the next 2 games, because we've got Exeter, and then obviously we've got the is that in the FA Cup, isn't it? Then we've got the League Cup as well after that. So you're assuming then he'll get his run as well. And I'd go as far to say probably the 2 best goalkeepers we've ever had, playing at the same time.
I think you've got to put them up there, haven't you? And Pep does speak about it so often. You can rotate wingers, you can rotate centre-halves. The one position you can't do that is in goalkeeper, and it's frustrating, no doubt, for James Trafford, because I totally agree. It felt like he was coming back and he was going to succeed, but market opportunities, sometimes they move, and you've got to make that decision. And I mean, how lucky are we? He was speaking about this.
And also James Trafford as well, I'm sure, will not be complaining to be playing and learning against, playing from.
I think it's a lot better than the days of bringing in caretaker goalkeepers. I believe in about 2010 we had Joe Hart out on loan, Shea Given did his shoulder, and then we had 2 caretaker goalkeepers.
Who can we?
Martin Fuller and. Was he a Finnish goalkeeper?
Faroe Islands,
that's
Faroe
right.
Islands.
Yeah.
Looked a bit like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. We'll get that name
was it Gunnar
Nielsen?
Nice.
Yeah.
All the knowledge here in the studio, gentlemen. Safe to say they're not on the tenable list. Let's hear from Kit Simons. Here he is giving us a little chat pitch side. He's just down there. Let's go to him now.
Yeah, welcome to Pitch Side, where I'm joined by one of our City TV regulars, former City centre-half, Kit Simons. Kit, you're most welcome as always. Just a quick one, really. We're discussing Donnarumma and the importance of a goalkeeper. Just tell us about what it meant to you when you felt the goalkeeper behind you was as good as the City players think about Donnarumma.
Yeah, it's massive. I remember playing for Wales, the likes of Neville Southall, and when I first got in the team at Portsmouth, Alan Knight, who was brilliant and really helped like the young players massively. It makes such a huge difference having that confidence in the keeper behind you, and sort of like understanding their game a little bit, knowing what they're going to do at certain given moments gives you a lot of confidence.
And of course he was replacing a bit of a unique goalkeeper in Edison. It's been a real contrast, hasn't it?
Well, it was, and I think it's full testament to him. I mean, Edison had been unbelievable for Man City, but Donnarumma's come straight in, big boots to fill, and like the fans love him, the players love him, and he's done it seamlessly, really. So, no, I think full credit to him. He's made a massive impact in what we know can be a very difficult league.
And of course we talk about goalkeepers behind defenders. In front of him has largely been Diaz and Gvardiol. All of a sudden, in the space of a few minutes, he loses both of them. What kind of impact might that have?
I think, you want a good centre-half pairing and a regular goalkeeper, and City had that for a while, and it was looking good. So, it is such a shame. I mean, what we're lucky in is the boys who are coming in are quality players as well, but it's a huge blow. There's no dressing up or getting away from it. It was going really well. They'd forged a really good relationship, and obviously with Donnarumma behind them as well, it looked really solid and really good. So it's not ideal, but as Pep said, we'll get on with it.
Absolutely. And of course it looks as though Max Lane straight into the starting lineup tonight. I guess in many ways we're talking about partnerships forging. Will the onus be on the likes of Ake to sort of get him up to speed in that position in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think so. Then you need your more experienced senior players to help you out, and there'll be enough experience in and around him to help him out for sure. But he'll be looking for a bit of a heads up, bit of a help from some of his senior boys.
Just a quick thought before I leave you. You were in management, you know what it's all about, but I think it was a shock to everyone when United parted company with yet another manager. I mean, has there ever been a more precarious time to be a manager, do you think?
No, I mean, they're going thick and fast with why I'm not doing it anymore. But, I mean, once he said what he'd said, you're like, oh, that's only going to end one way. And I don't know, listen, I've done it myself, it's such a difficult job, and that's why, you've got to take your hat off to the manager here, who just keeps going, keeps churning out huge results and great success, because it's a very, very difficult job. It can be a very lonely job, very difficult job, so people don't understand what goes into it, and the toll it takes on you as well. It's all consuming, and that's why someone like Pep, with his success, you've got to properly take your hat off to him.
Well, let me take my hat off to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thanks.
As ever. The thoughts there of Kit Simons. Back to you in the studio.
So there he is. The star boy in blue returns to the Etihad Stadium from his loan spell at Watford. Of course, given the slight injury crisis, given the injuries to Diaz and Gvardiol in the Chelsea game, John Stones out. Max Lane came through the academy, has been putting in some superstar performances at Watford in the Championship. I know Watford fans have been gutted to see him go, but we've brought him back to Manchester and he starts tonight against Brighton. He plays alongside Kusanov. That is the player that he is playing alongside, and that is also who he's passing it to at the moment. I'll run you through that starting 11 as well. Donnarumma, Nunes, Kusanov, Max Lane on your screen, Ake, Nico Gonzalez, Bernardo Silva, Reinders, Foden, Doku and Erling Haaland. If you've watched the Championship, or maybe there might be some Watford fans watching because they love him, let us know your thoughts. Maybe we've missed something that you have seen. It'd be great to get your comments on him. I've got Amos and Luke with me in the studio. We were just saying here, I always take moments sometimes and be like, I've just had a mad 24 hours or 36 or 48 hours. As the 36 hours go, for Max Lane, that must be up there as some of the craziest he'll ever experience.
Yeah, what a start to 2026.
Just wait for his winning goal.
Saying his Instagram dump for January will be great, won't it? When he's got all the new photos and stuff like that. Yeah, meeting Donnarumma and Haaland in training and stuff. Yeah, absolutely buzzing for him. I think over the last 10 years we've developed a real culture of getting those young players coming through, and he's just the latest off the list. It's a real sort of a factory of talent, and the CFA network that the players you're looking at. Oh yeah, he was in the academy, or he played a few times for City in a cup match, and I think this is just so. It makes you proud, doesn't it? You see these young lads coming through and making the bench, making the team, whatever. Fantastic.
Well, we've got 9 academy players in the squad today. We did a talking point at the weekend that had across the Premier League games that we across the last kind of game week, we had City players in 10 of the matchday squads.
Wow.
I mean, some of them squads are 2 or 3. Max Lane has started 14 games for Watford, and he's doing it in the Championship. So as well, Hugo Viana and Pep have obviously seen enough that he's been playing at a physical level. Yeah. He's held his position in the Watford team, so he is able to come in and show us what he's made of tonight.
Yeah, well, they say, don't they, about the Championship, it's one of the toughest leagues in the world, which is why often you see players go on loan there and they can struggle, but clearly he's done an amazing job at Watford. He's come obviously about 150 miles back up north now, and he's been thrown straight into a massive game. We can't, dance around the fact that City need to win this game tonight.
Yeah.
And he's got, obviously, Cousinov next to him, so I'm excited to see it.
And what do we know? We're just fans who love the club. But if you Pep, and it's a little bit reminiscent of when Cousinov was thrown in against Chelsea in a way. We'd had that again around January time. Granted, Cousinov could only speak 3 words of English, so it might have made it a bit more trickier. But with the chat, is it you don't want to put too much pressure on him. I guess you kind of want to just go, listen to the players, or listen to Ake, and go and express yourself. Do what we saw in the academy.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're not, no offence, not like you or I. They've, been playing football their whole lives, and they're not going into something they've never done before. So I think they'll have that comfort blanket. But like you say, the lights are shining bright. It's a Premier League match. It's a game that City really want to be winning. So I think you're right in the sense that just take that advice, listen to the players around you. Don't be. It's like, I'm going to make a weird comparison. When I go to 5-a-side and I'm trying to ping those balls that I've just not got the ability or the composure to be doing.
Both.
Yeah.
They were running my clips last time, Amos.
Yeah, don't chat to Luke can't get involved in that because Luke's a baller.
Yeah. Like sometimes in your head you know what you want to do, but the ability, you don't want to be necessarily taking it too far. So I think he'll be grounded. He'll have been told,
Everyone likes an omen as well. Number 68, the year City won the First Division for the second time. So there you go.
Luke, we're having you back. Right, let's talk about some huge news from the other side of Manchester. It'd be remiss not for us to talk about it with the sacking of Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. On behalf of the club, obviously, we're absolutely, delighted, buzzing, gutted, who knows. But I guess for United fans in particular, it's been such a, tumultuous time. We're going to bring up a graphic here, that shows the number of managers that they've been through. And that's why I say, good, bad, confusing, it's hard to know because it just seems to be the turnover of managers at the moment. I mean, if you look there, this is their stats against Pep, but he's played 5 different managers. One of them managers is potentially being touted to come back in. What did you make of the sacking?
Yeah, be careful what we say in this segment. We'll keep it professional. But I think, obviously Ruben Amorim, it didn't work. We saw actually one of his final games for Sporting was that win against City in the Champions League. Yeah. And he came with so much anticipation, but in the end, I think maybe his stubbornness got the better of him. Just looking at that, I did shiver when I heard the news that Ollie might be going back because his record against Pep, I'm pretty sure he's one of the best of all time. It's wild. It's absolutely wild, especially at down the road. So yeah, a couple of weeks' time, I wouldn't be. Hopefully, he's not in the dugout.
I may be in a different boat. You look there, 4 wins each. I mean, I am a little bit petty sometimes, but I'd like to discount one of those United wins because it was the second leg of a Carabao Cup semi-final where City advanced.
City went through, yeah.
So you could argue maybe that he didn't quite do as well as the graphic says. But having said that, he did have our number on a few occasions. So be interesting to see if he comes back. Obviously, just from a City standpoint, we can beat him a few more times.
Well, depending on who they bring back, and I'm sure, as all fans will find that out as and when the club over there makes the decision. Does that change the inflection and the energy around the derby? Because obviously our next Premier League game is against Manchester United. Does it Does it suddenly change that now? Do you feel different about it at all, Amos?
I think it has to. You know, you look at the weekend with Chelsea. Obviously, they lost their manager just a couple of days before, and while it's a under-21 coach, Callum McFarlane, you naturally have that boost. I think players, whether they would admit it or not, when there's been maybe a little bit of a rough spell, talks behind closed doors, that changes, and it is a little bit more of a free hit. And for United at home in a couple of weeks' time, the derby's the derby. It's always the massive game. So I do think it has maybe moved the needle a little bit, but you've got to back City with the form they've been in.
100%. I mean, it does make me a little bit nervous, but in Pep we trust, and the boys in blue. It's interesting though, because it brings me in to my next conversation topic, which obviously you mentioned as well. Chelsea sacking Maresca, then you have United sacking Amorim. It kind of, you know, begs the question, when you do put time and faith in a manager, do you get the rewards? And the reason I say that is when you actually look at, you know, I mean, Hertzler was struggling initially, but they kept with him and have come good now. They believed in Arteta and his project, and look at what Arsenal are doing. Liverpool obviously kept with Klopp for that amount of time. Look at what Marco Silva's doing with Fulham. We see these short tenures, but is the proof there to say actually maybe clubs need to start believing in the manager and giving them more time even when it gets tough, Luke?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at that there, and just in third space is 4 years, 6 months.
Yeah.
And you talked about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer then. When he left United, that's around the same time span ago. So football moves very fast, and I think football managers are getting less and less power and less time, maybe as a result of that. And yeah, we're just so lucky that we've got a manager there that has more than triple the time at City than 5th to 20th on the list for any other team. So, yeah, I mean, it is an anomaly, but Pep Guardiola is an anomaly in every way, shape and form. So we know he's going to get to 10 years, but hopefully it goes on much longer than that.
If you was to say, though, who are, you know, the most, you know, we drop in and out of consistency, but like solid teams who you know what you're going to get, it would be them top 5 managers. You know what I mean? Also, particularly what Emery has done at Villa. Iraola's doing a great job at Bournemouth. The question is whether they can keep him if a bigger club comes asking. But for me, that does make the case of like, if you believe in them, stick with them, and he will build a team that can consistently perform at the level he wants them to.
Yeah, just scanning through that list, I'm pretty sure every team bar one has taken points off City in the last 12 months. So it goes to show that you do have that solid base and you can build on it. And I think as well, yes, football is much different nowadays. You know, it is obviously, it's always been results based, but you don't have that time, especially at the big clubs. But look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. I remember a game here when City absolutely spanked Arsenal in, I'd like to say 2022. There was talk if Arteta lost his next game, he'd be out. And now, you know, fast forward 4 years or so later, he's flourishing. So yeah, I do think you've got to have that patience. I really do.
I think Emery's another example of that as well. I want to, you know, what I mean. Villa, they're right up there this season so far. Whether they can keep it up is another thing. But I think I remember it was at the start of the season, or there was a period last season where there was a lot of negative noise from Villa fans saying, "Is Emery the man?" But they stuck with him, and now look what they're doing again.
Absolutely. Villa are a crazy team to look at because, again, you look at the time frame Emery came in and, you know, Steven Gerrard, with all due respect, didn't have them in the best shape. And Emery comes in, even this season, he's not spent a great deal of money, not brought in too many signings. He's really got the team going well. And like Amos said, the game, I think he was on about the start of that season, the second of our 4 in a row. Arsenal lost 5-0 here, and then look at how good they are nowadays. So yeah, you just got to give a manager time, but you've got to give the right manager time. You can see it go the other way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really interesting. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see how that develops on the other side of Manchester. But regardless, it won't stop from the boys in blue from doing what they need to do. Fingers crossed. We'll be with you as well for that game, as Matchday Live is for every game that Manchester City play. Now, one man who does know a thing or two about management, the lows, the highs, is a man who has coached both Manchester City and Brighton this evening. His name is Brian Horton. He was speaking to Alistair Mann earlier, so let's see how them two go on.
And you mentioned before when we started chatting, you actually met the Brighton manager early today. That was a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah, no, it was nice because Paul Chameleon, who him and his sister got Pitch Publishing, and they published my book for me.
Right.
But he's one of the top guys on that side for Brighton. And I keep in touch with him, good guy, and he said, we're staying over last night, and would you like to come up and meet the manager? I said, I've told him about you. And he said he would like to meet you also because he likes meeting old managers and old players from the Brighton past. So, yes, I went down and had about an hour with him. It was great.
Did he charm you?
He's, listen, he's done a great job. Brighton, obviously, I've just said, were fantastic days. And I went back to manage them. But unfortunately, when I went back to manage them, they were playing in Gillingham because they'd lost the ground, they'd lost the Goalston.
That's right.
So they're having to go M23, M25, M2 to play a home game. So I had about a year of it, and they nearly went out of the league the first year, and I kept them up. And then they taught me to stay in for another year, and we were in the playoffs when I left, so Port Vale came calling, and it was hard to turn it down because my family were still in Manchester, and I'm commuting from Manchester to Brighton. They're playing at Gillingham. Never knew if the club might exist in any time because they hadn't got a benefactor like Tony Bloom then. The chairman was fantastic, the board was fantastic, worked like crazy to do what they did. So that was a great part of the climb back up again, if you like, to do what they did from those days with no ground to now with a brand new ground and a brand new training ground, as I've said, and doing what they're doing is fantastic.
Listen, you've touched on a few things to do with managers now. You were saying that you were signed and a very short time later the manager goes and somebody else comes in. Obviously with the news about Amorim, it makes you realise how precarious a job it is. Has it always been that way? Was it that way when you were in charge of teams?
Yeah, I think so, but it's made it, is it easier for managers now with all the money that the players earn, or is it harder to move them on? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. You know, you see what it's cost Man United to bring him in and then staff in and whatever. And it's a merry-go-round, isn't it?
And you mentioned before when we started chatting, you actually met the Brighton manager earlier today. That was a bit of a coincidence.
You can see the time there on your screens. 10 seconds away from 7:10. That is 20 minutes until kick-off here at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City are welcoming Brighton. Kolo Touré on your screen, Kusanov behind him, and he's giving instructions to Max Elaine, who we've just recalled from Watford. It's huge for him today. Also, there is something I think quite beautiful about Kolo Touré being the man giving him instructions, Amos.
It didn't even clock when we're doing the talk about the experience. I mean, what a guy to have to be guiding you through the coaching session. He knows everything about defending the Premier League. So yeah, he's in good hands or good heads, as we saw there.
Can't forget as well, Kolo Touré was one of the academy coaches, so I'm sure as well that he's got the relationship there, which hopefully is allowing Max to settle. And great to see him and Kusanov here just starting to get to know each other, because I have a feeling we could be seeing a bit more of them at centre-half, given the injury, sadly, of Gvardiol and Diaz. I'm not sure if it's officially confirmed. It looks like Gvardiol's going to be out for a bit of time.
Yeah.
I think they're saying anywhere between 4 to 5 months. Yeah. Hopefully Diaz 4 to 6 weeks. Obviously, that's just kind of we're surmising, but we wish them a very speedy recovery. Gents, we asked you in honour of EAFC announcing their Team of the Year to make your teams of the year. And in the men's shortlist, we've got Haaland and Donnarumma. In the women's, we've got Bunny Shaw and Yui Hasegawa, which is very, very appropriate, I think. 2 unbelievable players there for our women's team. We've asked you to put your 11 together from the shortlist. They're kind of more or less the same. I think bar 3 changes. Who's are we going to look at first, Gallery? We're going to look at yours first, Luke. So talk us through why you've gone for these as your team of the year.
Yeah, so in goal we got Donnarumma, unbelievable season, winning the Champions League, I believe the treble with PSG. Same to be said about Nuno Mendes at left back. I thought it was unbelievable. Centre backs, both Premier League. Van Dijk obviously very much guided Liverpool to that first league title in a few years. Very good for them. Gabriel, I think a decent portion of why I put him in this team is probably, well, partly Arsenal's running the Champions League last season, but also how good they've been this season. And then
just go into this year.
Then at right back, I've gone Jules Koundé from Barcelona. They had a good run, obviously getting to the semi-final before losing to Inter. Thought he was very good for them. 2 centre mids, Vitinha from PSG.
Great player.
Unbelievable player, very underrated, I think, as well. Probably because he doesn't play in, the Premier League or whatever. Declan Rice, 2 free kicks against Real Madrid. Probably Arsenal's best player, I'd argue.
Yeah.
Then, sort of a little bit ahead of him, there was an argument for me to put Cole Palmer in here for Chelsea after what he did at the Club World Cup, maybe, but I just don't think he quite had the consistency for Chelsea in the league. So I've gone with Ousmane Dembele, who had to get in the team somewhere. Obviously, the Ballon d'Or winner. Again, the two players on the wings here had to get in as well. Kylian Mbappe on the left wing, I've put in. Right wing, Lamine Yamal, who's a contender for the Ballon d'Or, and then Erling Haaland up front with no Harry Kane, which is incredibly harsh, but you can't get everyone in.
You can't, and you do. You kind of have to you have to put the big man up front. I mean, also, can we just talk about that I mean, I think our forward four is devastating and worrying, but that forward, news was to come up against that as a forward four.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that would do to defenders, Lou. That would just be absolutely frightening. Koundé's an interesting one. It's quite because he kind of had I think we were linked with him years and years ago. Slower start to his career, but he really seems to have become not only a fan favourite, but announced himself on the European stage. Yeah,
I mean, he absolutely can play at centre-back as well, which is where we were kind of trying to get him in for when we signed Diaz, I believe, about 5-6 seasons ago. And he's now made his name sort of at right-back as well. So, yeah, I think he's a great player, and, it's a scary team, that, isn't it?
It's a very scary team. Amos, shall we take a look at yours?
Yeah, go on.
It's very similar, but there's three differences in your team. So, I mean, again, talk us through, I mean, your reasons, but I'm guessing a lot of it's similar.
You can't put Dembele in your team. Well, watch me. Because
absolutely outrageous.
Sin a bit.
Oh, yeah. Should have put me in charge. The reason, let's start with that. For me, João Neves, I think he goes above him. I think he was one of my favourite players to watch last season. And to be fair, Declan Rice is a worthy pick. You could have had any of those PSG midfielders.
Yeah.
So for me, I do like a midfielder. They're the player that I like to watch the most when I'm watching football. So I think João Neves, and since he's come through from Benfica, I mean, he's been absolutely incredible.
He is one, and they're all articles, aren't they? When City would be mentioned very loosely, and I just thought if there was ever a man who I think could be the heir to Bernardo Silva,
yes,
it would be João Neves, because he's such a beautiful footballer.
I know, he's absolutely fantastic, and when you get asked the question, if you could sign one player for your club, and people say Mbappe, you might say João Neves, because I just think he's going right to the top, and obviously we saw that alongside Vitinha. Marquinhos again, a treble winner, and to be blunt, Gabriel, a no trophy winner, so
fair.
Going for that one, and for me, Dumfries mentioned a little bit earlier in the show that I like to watch Serie A. Inter Milan didn't have the season that they were sort of trending towards. Obviously lost Champions League final, Napoli won Serie A title, but he was very instrumental in what they were trying to do, what Inzaghi was trying to do, and I think that Barcelona game, obviously Koundé played really well, but Dumfries was up and down. I don't know how he had the legs to do it. So I've gone for Dumfries at right back instead, but I think it's close enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apart from Dembele.
Maybe there was a little bit more bit of balance to that team.
Kind of just a bit gung-ho.
But I'd like to watch your team play, just go at the opposition.
Maybe it's a good advert for the game as well, FC26.
Very short. Well, speaking of the game as well, as I say, this is them. They're about to announce their team of the year, of which you can have your say. So they've made a short list. You can cast your vote wherever you are in the world. It closes on the 12th of January 2026. Choose who are your team of the year, and do get behind our players as well. In our men's shortlist, we've got Haaland and Donnarumma. And in the women's shortlist, we've got Bunny Shaw and Yui Hasegawa. Gents, I mean, not long to go before kickoff. It's absolutely flown by. I did want to quickly just mention, you mentioned Inter Milan there and Serie A. Obviously, when we're calling centre halves, there was, a mention of Manuel Akanji, who I think that very quickly got shut down. But he seems to be doing really well. Have you had a chance to see how he's been getting on over there?
Yeah, he's settled really well, and I mean, you shouldn't be surprised, because he's obviously a player who came to City from Borussia Dortmund, so had experience in the Bundesliga, came and won a treble with City, Premier League titles. He's looking good. He's looking solid, and I think it's a league at his point in his career where he's really settled in. It isn't as intense, and you're not doing the hard yards up and down the pitch. So excited to see him. Inter Milan are flying in both the Champions League and the Serie A table. They're in a title race again, and they probably will get top 8 in the Champions League. So possibly further on in the season, might get to see him in the Champions League.
This is the way it usually goes. This is the talking point of the night. This is huge, and I know all City fans are behind him with nothing but love and support. Max Alleyne is the defender we've recalled from loan at Watford. he comes straight into the fold. We were saying it's happening more or less 48 hours. I mean, even there, I don't know, I'd be absolutely bricking it. But you see, he was with Kolo Touré, warmed up with Kusanov, Ake there giving him instructions. They'll all just be key to just settling him and keeping him calm and hopefully he's able to express himself tonight.
Absolutely, and these players dream of these moments for their entire lives, so you'd like to think that there is going to be some pressure on him, but he can ride the pressure, ride the wave, and gives a good performance tonight because we need it.
We do indeed. We need to win because, as we know, we're trying to close that gap on Arsenal. Not that the City players or squad or staff will be thinking about it. We are though, and let's take a look at the next 4 fixtures then as we go. So we play tonight, which could close the gap to 3 points. Interestingly, tough game for Arsenal. They've got to welcome Liverpool. No, they haven't been great. Arsenal have got Forest away, United at home, and then Leeds away. For us, we of course have got to go to Old Trafford after this. We then welcome Wolves, which with them having United, dare I say, I would like them to maybe do something at the Emirates. And then of course away at Spurs, which is difficult. I feel Villa's games tricky, but not. I'd say they're maybe I don't know. What are you making of the 4 games?
Yeah, I think Villa are there because of the points. If you're asking me, come April, May, are Villa in the title race? At the moment, I'll probably say no, but you've got to take them seriously because obviously the points are there. In terms of Arsenal, that's a tricky run of fixtures, and at this time of the year, it's hard to build momentum in one competition because you're swapping so regularly, which I think is why these next Premier League matches are so important because you don't play in the Premier League for 10 days. So, Liverpool, Forest away, Man United at home. That's a tricky run of fixtures for Arsenal.
Like Amos said, it's so important we win today. Our next 2 games, like you said, are cup fixtures. We've got the FA Cup against Exeter, Newcastle away in the Carabao Cup. So 3 points tonight are an absolute must. Put a little bit of pressure on Arsenal ahead of that massive game. Probably the hardest of the lot, to be honest, in those games for them in Liverpool, who are on a decent unbeaten run. Hopefully they can do us a favour.
It's also one of them as well, isn't it? Our 2 away fixtures against Arsenal's 2 away fixtures, I do think are hard, especially because we just know how much we struggle at Spurs. Yeah. But I'm putting it out there now, we're going to change that in 2026. But in the same breath, for different reasons, the way Forest performed against us when we went, played there only a couple of weeks ago, Leeds have suddenly found a little bit of form, slight change in formation from their manager. They're not going to be easy. You could think, as you were saying before, they can get points there, either Forest or Leeds.
Yeah, definitely. As we mentioned, any team can beat any team, and that's what I think City have just got to keep in their own heads, keep in their own lane, win the games, be there when it matters, and you never know. You really don't know in this league.
You really, really don't. We've got to start, though, Luke, as you said, with a win today against Brighton. Let me just recap you our starting 11. We've got Donnarumma in goal. Mateus Nunes holds his place at right back. Kusanov partners Max Elaine, who we've recalled from Watford after our defensive injuries, and completing the back 4, Nathan Ake with that all-important experience. Moving to midfield, Nico Gonzalez, alongside our captain Bernardo Silva and Tajani Reinders, and then a forward 3 of Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku and Erling Haaland. Luke, I actually wanted to ask, I pitched it there, and I've done all shows, obviously, Nico, Reinders and Bernardo, but what I'm thinking what we could also maybe see is he might move and have Phil. We know how much he likes Phil. Could be Phil middle and Bernardo out on the right.
It very
Bernardo
much could be.
We've
seen Bernardo on the right many a time. His best ever game, arguably, for us was on the right against Real Madrid in that 4-0. So, yeah, it could be either way. We'll see. And hopefully Brighton don't know which way round it is either, because that'd do us a few favours.
Also, his best ever game against Manchester City was on right wing.
That's true.
I was down. We moved our seats to pitch side, and that whole game, but the 45 minutes of watching him, and I remember us all, me, my dad and my brother driving home going, if there was ever a signing City need to make, it's that man. Yeah. Thankfully, we did. Amos, we are, of course, wanting to get the 3 points, but to do that, what would you like to see from that starting 11 tonight?
I think final third decision making, which hasn't been an issue for City at all this season. They lead the league in terms of goals scored, but I think at times in those Chelsea games, maybe the fixtures started to catch up on them, a little bit of fatigue. And we speak about fatigue as if it's physical. It can also be mental as well. These players go through a lot. They've got to make the right decisions. I think City should have space tonight. If you look at the way Brighton play, they should be able to capitalise on that, especially with especially Nunes on the right hand side coming up from full back. So I want to get him into good position in the final third, and with Erling Haaland, for me, goals.
Goals,
Yes.
of course, as well. We know that he is aiming to get his 150th Manchester City goal, which is quite phenomenal. There's a little light show going on here in the stadium at the moment, so not long before I hand over to Alistair Mann. We have to be wary of Brighton as well, and as much as we're so excited to see, it's a bit of a different defence. You'd like to think that might be giving Brighton a bit of an impetus, so also trying to be as solid at the back is key. Is Nico Gonzalez key to that tonight?
Yeah, very much, and I think what gives the defence a lot of confidence is when they've got the padding of a few goals for City. So, yeah, I think maybe the answer to the defensive, not problems, but,
inexperience.
Yeah, the inexperience is probably the right word. Can be solved by maybe those other 5 or 6 players on the right of them there scoring a few goals.
Yes.
I think that's what we want to see. So, yeah, score a few goals tonight, and I think we'll be all right.
Can I also just say, we've had such a focus on Max Alane, and rightly so. I am buzzing that Kusanov, I think, is going to get a run of games. I think he's got all the makings, and I mean, he proved it in Ligue 1 last season. But even in his performances, I think about that Liverpool game, his 40-minute spell against Chelsea, or 35 minutes, has been phenomenal. I think he's a hell of a centre-half. I'm so excited to see him get a run of games.
It's like he's been in the slow cooker, really, isn't it? Like, he's just been bubbling away, and sometimes that's what you need. You need an injury. I know he started the season playing a little bit at right back, and he picks up an injury. Nunes comes in, he takes his chance, and that's half of football, professional football. You've got to be there at the right place at the right time, and I think he'll do really well.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen love for a player like the love the people of Uzbekistan give Kusanov as well, which is great to see. So, yeah, hopefully he gets a...
Well, we know a lot of you is watching as well from over in Uzbekistan as well, so thank you for joining us. I also had Kusanov was on, I was going to say my train, we were on the same train last week. And I didn't go over and say hello, but we were getting off the train at the same time. My goodness, not only is he tall, but you know when someone just looks like they're built of muscle, the strength on that boy, gee whiz.
Nathan Ake's the same. Nathan Ake's the same.
I nearly did ask him what you benching me. Right, they're lining up. Gents, quickly, can I get your predictions, please? Luke, do you want to go first?
3-1 City, win the game.
Lovely stuff. Amos, were you thinking that?
I was going to do the same. You know what, I'll go 4-1.
You must stick to 3-1, we're all friends here.
An extra goal.
An extra goal, 4-1. Such a treat to have Amos Murphy Luke Stanley with me in the studio. We're back at half-time, then full-time. Alistair Mann's got your commentary on the Manchester City app. Max Alane, there he is, makes his debut. Best of luck to that man, and I'll see you at half-time. Come on, City.
Thanks, Kel. Well, 2026 has begun with 2 very frustrating draws. Both performances certainly deserve more than the point they earned in each. It is, though, the time of the year in which the schedule intensifies, and just 3 days on from the visit of Chelsea, Brighton are next up here at the Etihad Stadium. A 6-point gap may have formed between the Blues and the league leaders Arsenal, but recent history has demonstrated that it's by no means an unassailable advantage. City have been here many times before in the role of the chaser, and they rarely fail to catch their prey. Now, the late Chelsea equaliser was certainly a blow in itself, but it was compounded by injuries to both centre-halves. Joško Gvardiol might not be back until the latter part of the season. Ruben Dias for around 4 to 6 weeks, damaging at any time of the season, but particularly in a month in which the Blues have fixtures every few days and in 4 different competitions. Well, the 2 sets of players are in the tunnel, awaiting the signal to make their way out. And the reality is that if it was any other team than this one, Arsenal might start to feel as though they had a healthy gap between themselves and the team in second. But the team in second are serious.